Hey everybody, it's Rajesh here.
And Tane here.
Welcome to our podcast, Baskets of Knowledge, Chats with a Difference. In our podcast, we invite guests from around the country and around the world to talk about how they got to where they're at the moment. It's about a journey, it's about an experience, it's about their life.
Well, kia ora koutou, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Baskets of Knowledge. Tane, we missed you last week. What's been happening in your world since we last spoke?
Yeah, I guess last week, since we last spoke, I've settled into my new job as grants coordinator at Sport Otago. So it's very much been a learning process around the different funds that I'll help coordinate, trying to figure out the logistics around funding and what it actually entails. And I think it's a cool challenge to be able to dive in and, yeah, I guess have a broader sense of what funding looks like. As we're probably all aware, particularly in the sports sector, a lot of the sports sector requires funding, and without funding, a lot of the projects can't get off the ground. So it's going to be an interesting, I guess, position to be in terms of how you decline applications, how you accept applications, and how you do it in a way that, I guess for me, the approach I want to take is to be much more solutions based, so even though you might not get a successful application, how can we kind of flip that narrative on its head and find solutions rather than saying no, sorry, we can't fund you, and leave it at that. So some very exciting opportunities coming up, and that's probably my biggest learning for the last couple of weeks has just been settling into this role and seeing how Sport Otago, I guess, run as an organisation.
No, beautiful. That's awesome that you're in that role, and awesome that you have to navigate that mindset of a decline is not a decline. How do you make that into a positive led, I guess, or positive conversation, which is always pretty hard to do sometimes. And I guess that really leads well really into what I'm going to talk about I just had a conversation just before we jumped on the podcast about change and how change is, whenever you produce something, there's always going to be people that are naysayers and yaysayers. And to navigate that is really quite hard. But like my friend said to me, change is hard no matter what, and you can't please everybody. And that's very true, as you've changed now into your role, Tane, and maybe some change happening in my life in the next few months as well. It's hard to please everybody. It's scary, but with change comes growth. Well, hopefully, I hope so. But you can only learn from that bit. So yeah, that's what my learning was, I guess, over the last hour essentially. Yeah, beautiful. For regular listeners, that Tanya and myself can keep talking forever and ever, but we're not going to do that there. We're going to save you from that there. As you all know, we scour the country, we scour the world. We think that everyone is amazing. We think everyone's got a story to tell. And we'd love to have everyone on a podcast, but we can't do that there. But the people that we have, we think we are truly honored and privileged. And today I am really honored, really privileged, and I think really inspired to welcome our guest to Baskets of Knowledge. This is a person that I have looked up to for a couple of years, and the things that they do in the space they work in is pretty inspirational. And also given that life has not always been rosy, but the stuff they do has really been inspiring. They don't know this yet, but I told them at the start that they're really inspiring and their ripple effect is really beautiful, which is why it's really beautiful for Tana and myself to welcome Magdeline to our podcast. Welcome, Magdeline, to Baskets of Knowledge.
Hi, everybody. I'm Magdeline. Thanks for having me, Rajesh and Tani.
No worries. Thank you for jumping on. Magdeline, people who don't know anything about you, do you want to tell them who you are and what are you doing at this point in time in your life?
Yeah. Okay. So, hi, everybody. My name is Magdeline. I'm a software engineer. I graduated from the University of Otago back in 2021. I graduated with a computer science degree. And fun story, I actually started off doing a health sciences degree, which I think we'll get into later. At the side, I also have a YouTube channel where I mainly produce content about tech to share my journey as a woman in tech and also to inspire others in their tech journey. Yeah, I've got a lot of creative hobbies. I used to have a podcast as well, which I did for a year, but with YouTube and everything, I kind of stopped. So yeah, now I'm more focused on the YouTube side of things.
Yeah, that's beautiful. What a great summary of all the cool things that you do. And I guess let's start right at the beginning. I met you all those years ago when you were in high school, and health science first year was what you wanted to do.
Yeah, that's right.
If someone said to you when you were in Christchurch, and I said to you, "Hey, Magdalene, forget about the health side. You're going to be a computer scientist." What would you have said to me at that point in time?
I wouldn't be able to believe it. And actually, first of all, I'm really surprised that you remember me from high school, because it's easy for me to remember you because you're like the spokesperson of health sciences. My mom remembers you too, but like, how do you remember me?
Why not, right? Why not? Yeah.
are so many students that you have to deal with.
Yeah, but people always leave an impression on me, and Tanya knows that, right? We're just impressions. It could be a good impression or bad, but it's an impression. An impression is an impression, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I
Yeah.
guess we meet a couple of times, like at the Edmonton race course. I think I met in Otago as well when I came down. Yeah, and you came to Christchurch Girls High as well. So yeah.
That's right, exactly. Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
if you
And
told me back then that I wouldn't be going down the health path and I would end up going down computer science, I wouldn't have believed you because I had nothing to do with computer science at that point in time. Like I was dead set on going down the healthcare path. So, I
yeah,
mean, I thought that's all I could do. I thought that was the only option, like either engineering or health sciences.
isn't it crazy that when you're in school, that's all you think about, those vocations straight up, because that's the way, whether it's culture or school goes, hey, you're good at maths, you're good at biology, therefore be an engineer, be a doctor, essentially,
Yeah.
right? Which is pretty crazy. When did you realize that actually, hey, this is not my jam? Because you said computing was not your thing, but how did you shift from health to computing?
It's kind of a long story.
We'll have a long story.
Right. Well, on that thing about how that's the only thing you know at that point in time in your high school, I totally agree with that because even back then I realized that my vocabulary of careers out there was so limited. I only knew about the traditional careers like doctor, lawyer, engineer. But the world is evolving so fast, and nowadays you have careers that didn't even exist back then, like content creator, influencer, and like these are like I can't believe I'm saying this, but these are actually legitimate careers right now where you actually earn money from. So yeah, I think that's the main thing. Like exposure for kids is very important. They need to know what is actually available out there, and also in the future there could be other things that are available that aren't available right now. Yeah, I think those things like shadowing people who are actually working careers that interest you is really helpful because it gives you insights and they can also tell you about other careers that you might not have thought about. So yeah, it's just my little spiel on choosing careers when you're in high school.
I love that spiel, but and following that spiel there, when did you go actually computing? This could be a reality for me.
Yeah. I guess I want to say I've always been into computers, but I feel like I can't really say that as a Gen Z kid because I mean I grew up around computers. It's not like I grew up in the 1980s or 1990s where it's like such a special thing and
Yes.
only people who are extremely privileged can actually have a computer in their house. So yeah, I guess it's a generational thing. I have been good, like relatively okay with computers, as with other Gen Zs. And then yeah, I did health sciences because why did I do health sciences? Many reasons, as you touched on just then, like cultural, societal, everything. If you're good at school, people always say, okay, go be a doctor. And then it's like the most typical route that people take, you know, you go to Otago, do health sciences, or you go to Auckland. I chose Otago because when I went down there for Brain B, in year 11, I really liked the whole atmosphere of the campus. I liked how beautiful it was. Yeah, Auckland seemed a little bit too crowded for my liking back then. Although it's ironic because I then moved up to Auckland for work. But anyway, yeah. So I chose Otago, chose to do health sciences. I mentioned earlier that I also considered engineering. But engineering would mean that I would be studying in the University of Canterbury, and I was already doing high school in Christchurch, and I kind of wanted a whole change of environment. Like I'm all for change. So that's why I ultimately chose to go down to Otago and to do health sciences. Um, I would say the year was a very, very interesting year. Like I definitely enjoyed all the sciences when I was in high school. But I think uni was completely different. In high school, I was learning because I actually enjoyed learning. Like I wanted to learn about all the stuff. Like it wasn't just because I had to pass tests. But then it felt to me that health sciences was very, very pressuring. I had to get a good grade in all these. No, I had to learn all these things just so that I could get a good grade, just so that I could like get into one of the programs in the future. So yes, I didn't quite like this mindset. I didn't think it was quite healthy, and also with all the competition and everything. But yeah, anyway, regardless, I finished off the year. And then once I finished the year, I had to think about what I actually want to do in the future. Like, do I want to continue on with this health sciences path? Like, even if I didn't get in, would I still want to do like a science degree and then try for graduate entry, that kind of thing? So I thought about it, and then I also went back to Malaysia during the summer holidays because I'm Malaysian Chinese, and then I thought about a lot of things. And I also started working at a cafe, just as a little part-time job, which also gave me like some kind of headspace to clear my mind and figure out what I want to do in my future. And I thought, okay, if I hadn't done health sciences, I would have done engineering. So maybe I could look into that. And there are all these different fields of engineering, like chemical, mechanical, mechatronics, electrical. And I was like, how do I choose which field I should go into? So I was researching all these different fields, like by talking to people, by watching YouTube videos, and then I stumbled upon software engineering and electrical engineering. And all these tests that I was doing also seemed to like always give me electrical engineering, software engineering as my match. So then I started looking more into software engineering as a career, and I discovered that there was a shortage of women in tech. And then I discovered all these creators like Hello Mayuko, basically all these women in tech creators on YouTube, who were making content about their career as a software engineer. And I found it really, really inspiring. And I thought, okay, I could see myself doing that. I think it's pretty cool to be working at a company like Google, to be building stuff, building apps. And also technology is the future. I think it's a good space for me to go into. And there were also a lot of opportunities for women in tech, like, scholarships, whatever. So yeah, that's ultimately how I chose to do computer science, because I was inspired by other people and I was passionate about building things to solve problems. And I'm not sure if you guys noticed, but I also added on entrepreneurship as a minor to my degree. And that came from me working at the cafe, because I was inspired by the cafe owner sharing his story. And I thought, okay, maybe I could try starting my own business as well in the future, maybe a tech startup. So I just blended the two, and I thought that would be a good combination. So that's my very long story of how I went from health sciences first year to computer science and entrepreneurship in my second year.
That's so beautiful, and it's beautiful because it's the cafe. It's time. It's you gave yourself time to just breathe. We are so busy doing things and so busy trying to chase things that doing a job that requires you to. This is going to sound terrible. That's not a lot of brain work. Gives you other sides of your brain to actually think about things. And it's awesome that you've done it. I think Tana, you had the same thing with Pack and Save as well. Pack and Save, you did that for the last 6 months, but it also gave you time to reflect.
Yeah, definitely. I think a few jobs, similar with the working on the vineyards too during the summer. I think it's a good opportunity, as you say, when you're constantly chasing. And I think, particularly for those that go to tertiary education, either university or polytech, it's really, you do dive into quite a lot of things. You try and take up a lot of things, and there's not often room to, I guess, give yourself that opportunity to really step back and just figure out who you are as a person. And I think as you try and navigate that and as you try and establish yourself as a person, you also have to be mindful of the person you want to be versus the person that you think you have to be within the groups that you associate yourself with, the study you associate yourself with. So it's a really good opportunity, and I think something that isn't often discussed or talked about. I think it's often missed, and it's something that we should promote more for, particularly, as you go through those first couple of years to really just, what is the rush? And I think often we, through the various podcasts we've been through, other people I've talked to, always in hindsight, there's always that reflection of, oh, why was I rushing? What was the reason of rush? But I think when you're in it, it's so hard to take that step back and go, actually, I can take a step back. So yeah, an awesome idea and concept, I think, to navigate with the future young people coming through.
Yeah, and I love that, both of you have just mentioned that, it just gives you time to think. It just gives you time to just slow down and just think about things. And for you, Magdalene, it gave you an idea to do entrepreneurship, because we're so busy in the classroom doing things that we don't think about these other things. But I think my background is computer science as well, Magdalene. My first degree was in computer science. I did that a long time ago. And when I did it, I just didn't know what I wanted to study. Opened a book, computer science was the way to go, and I did that. And what I noticed in my class, I did my degree in South Africa, was there was probably a class of, by the time we finished up in year 3, there was probably about 180 of us. And of the 180, there were probably only 10 females. What is it? I mean, did you have the same gender bias, or what is it like for you? Because, I love the fact that women in STEM is really increasing, with the things that we're doing. But what is it like for you navigating that? And was it actually a problem? Was it fine?
Okay. Well, I started my degree in 2019, finished in 2021. There has been a great increase in the number of females studying STEM subjects over the years, I think. In 2019, it was also increasing, but still, yeah, females was a minority in the classroom. I think in first year, it was still okay, maybe around like 60-40, something like that. But as you slowly go through the years, like once you reach a final year, like 300 level papers, that's when it starts really decreasing, and then you can see that you are really one of the minorities in the classroom. Was this an issue for me? Not really. I wouldn't say it was a really big issue, and there are a few factors for that. One of them was I was part of this club called Comp Girls Otago. I was also the leader of Comp Girls Otago for one of the years, and basically this is a club for basically women in STEM. Like you don't have to be studying computer science. You can be studying data science, information technology, stuff like that. But it's basically a place for us to gather together and support each other. So I had this network of other females who were in STEM. So that was very encouraging. And during exam time, we would also form study groups together. And we would also form study groups with our other peers who were males, but it was nice to have this option of having study groups with other females. And then the thing about my actual peers who are males, I know people always like women in STEM, there's a shared experience where people feel like they're being belittled by the guys in their classroom, or maybe they're like mansplaining things to them or whatever. But I'm very privileged and lucky and grateful to say that I didn't experience any of that sort. Like all my classmates, males, they were very friendly. They were always very helpful. I mean, I think they were geniuses. Honestly, they were just geniuses. So yeah, I didn't experience any sort of gender bias from my classmates or my lecturers. So this is just my personal experience, not discouraging the fact that other females could possibly have also had that experience as well. Yeah.
I like that because this is your story, and everyone's story is different, and everyone's story has a different pathway in it. And too quickly as humans, we just paint a general brush about everything. And it's really awesome to hear that your peers were supportive, and that, as you said, some of them were like you, like just geniuses doing some pretty cool things. Which is really cool. And what about the conversation with your family? When you shifted from health side to computing, how was that? Was that an easy conversation? The reason I ask is because a lot of us, when we start something, our family's expectations and their dreams come through us, and then when we change the conversation, some families are like, yeah, this is awesome, and sometimes like a bit of time, but they accept in the end. What is it like for you?
Yeah. I'm very lucky that my parents were actually very, very supportive of my decisions. So there was no need for a hard, difficult conversation where I had to convince them that this was not my path. Yeah, why was that? Actually, I don't know. My parents are just very supportive.
That's amazing. Like, okay, yeah, that's great.
Then just go for it. And then I don't know, even my dad was like making jokes saying, yeah, you've always been the IT genius. Like you should be doing computer science. But as I'm saying, I'm a Gen Z kid, so how can I not be a tech genius? I grew up with computers. It's just that, when people ask you to do things on the computer, they just think you're amazing because you know how to do it. When actually it's just such a simple thing. Yeah, anyway. So yeah, and then they were very supportive. My mom also, I think, back when she was in university, she had a couple of female classmates who were also doing computer science. I think there was a period of time, maybe in the 1980s, that computer science was quite a popular option for females. So it wasn't that strange. But then as time went on, it became like less and less. And then now it's more against it. I don't know. All these waves,
It's waves.
Yeah,
it's waves.
It wasn't too shocking for them. And I think the other thing that helped is that health sciences, after all, is a BSc, is Bachelor of Science. Computer science is also a Bachelor of Science. Oh yeah, and the reason why I didn't choose to transfer to Canterbury University to do engineering is because I got the academic excellence scholarship at Otago, and that's like, there's a lot of money in that scholarship. So I'll be crazy to just give up that scholarship, right? And so computer science is a BSc as well. And I also discovered that you can study computer science and be a software engineer as well. You don't necessarily have to study engineering. So that's what I did. Computer science as a BSc. And so I was able to carry over my health sciences points to my computer science degree. So I guess that also helped with the transition. Like there were no major changes that had to be done in terms of my degree. Like it's not like I had to suddenly pay a huge amount of fees to change my degree. So I think that was also really, really helpful.
No, beautiful. Just anything that's got low barriers and low hanging fruit is really, really good in any aspect of life. You go, right, cool. This is low hanging fruit. Let me grab that, and it's low barriers, easy. Why
Yeah,
make things complicated?
very, very low barriers. And I already made friends in Dunedin. Like my life was already in Dunedin, so I just continued on with it. Just that I was now on a very different path to my friends, because most of my friends that I made in first year were from health sciences, and they went on to do like all the health sciencey stuff.
Yeah, and that's all good. It's the whole diversity of thinking. Talking about diversity of thinking, your YouTube channel, when did that start? When was that? Was that while you were studying? What prompted that idea?
Yes, that was while I was studying. Yeah, where did I even begin? I've always been into making YouTube videos, and if you go to my YouTube channel, you'll see that my first video was posted in 2018, and that was like a vlog. So I've always been into making like vlogs, romanticizing my life kind of thing. But it wasn't until 2020, I mean, the world was in lockdown, that I started to get really inspired to start documenting my life or like / taking YouTube seriously. So I started doing that in 2021, but I got the inspiration in 2020. And that's because I was stuck at home, I was watching a lot of YouTube, and I myself was inspired by a lot of other young people around the world who were creating content. So I guess you could say I like drawing inspiration from other sources, and then that inspiration causes me to take action and do my own kind of thing as well. So yeah, I was watching a bunch of YouTubers, I was inspired by them, and I thought, okay, you know what, 2021 is my last year in university, and I kind of want to document that. And I thought it'll be nice to start this channel while I'm still in university, and then I can document my transition to working life as well the following year. And then, yeah, when you're in university, you can, like, there are always lots of clubs that you can join, right? So I had already joined quite a few clubs in my previous years, but the thing about joining clubs or like being on the committee in these clubs is that it's something that you can't take with you once you graduate from university. Like, sure, you can take the skills and everything, but it's like once you leave, then a new committee will come.
Yes.
There's no longevity to it. But I figured that if I started my YouTube channel in university, it's a little project of mine that I can continue on. Once I graduate, that I can take into my working life, and then I can share experiences from there and then slowly evolve. It's a personal project of yours that can evolve however you please. So that's why I thought I should give it a go. And it's also fun. It's fun to like document my life, share my opinions with people. And now looking back at my videos, especially the ones that I did in university, like those vlogs of Otago, it's just very nostalgic looking back at it.
I asked that because I follow you, and I think some of the stuff you share is it's really beautiful because it comes from a personal perspective. Sometimes when we have this is true with all companies. When a company puts out stuff, there's an agenda, there's a swing that they're trying to have. But when I watch your stuff, it's really cool. The other day, well, I want to say the other day, a few weeks ago, I went to watch your clip about tips about study computer science. I was like, man, I wish I had that when I was doing computer science all those years ago. It's so cool and so relevant, which is really cool and relatable. I mean, so it's really beautiful. And were you surprised by the uptake? Were you surprised that actually, whoa, there's about 16,000 people out there that have jumped into this year? Because I'm sure that wasn't the plan. The plan was just for you documenting your life, and then people out there like, hey, let's get on this bandwagon.
You mean the number of subscribers?
Yeah, subscribers. Yeah.
No, I wasn't expecting that because YouTube is a really long-term game thing, and like, yeah, some people start YouTube to earn money and stuff, but that really takes a very, very long time. So I figured if that was my only goal, I would get demotivated pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I mean, I still did get demotivated for a period of time, but that's just because YouTube takes a lot of like effort, and I was starting a full-time job at the time. So yeah, I just started YouTube with the goal of sharing my experiences with people, and also as a form of personal branding, because I mean, it's very difficult to stand on the market these days. So yeah, basically a mix of reasons. And then if my channel was able to be monetized eventually, then I guess a source of income. So I guess there were various factors. And when I first started, obviously nobody was really watching my YouTube videos. And that video that you mentioned, the tips, five things oh wait, no, you mentioned the tips and tricks.
That's right, yeah.
There's this other video, 5 things I wish I knew before I studied computer science, that just blew up on my channel last year. All of a sudden, it didn't really have that many views when I first uploaded it, but then a few years, no, 1 or 2 years, no, 1 year later, it just got picked up by the algorithm, I guess. And you can never predict when that happens. And because that video blew up, it brought in like an influx of subscribers to my channel. And it brought me out of my hiatus because I'd stopped for a while because I started work and stuff. And I've been making videos every single month since then. So yeah.
It's
Wait,
crazy
what was
it's crazy what kicks into action, right? It's crazy that you do something and then, like you said, YouTube is a long-term game. I mean, Tanya and myself face this with our podcast, and we're like, we have no idea which episode is going to blow up, which one's not going to. We do all the SEOs, we do everything, and then some episodes are just ridiculous, and the ones that we think are going to be amazing have nothing. We're like, oh, this is so crazy, So we just do it just because to share the information, see what happens, and so like you said, the algorithm is a mystery.
Yeah, it is a mystery.
Talking about a mystery, and what's not a mystery is tell us about your blog. You don't call it a blog, you call it a digital garden. Why such a beautiful phraseology?
Yeah, it's nice that you pointed it out. I mean, you actually did your research. Yeah, why did I call it a digital garden? I was again inspired by somebody. Oh yeah. This she was a woman in tech. She's called Maggie Appleton, and she has this amazing website. And she also has a digital garden. So I think that's where I found out about the term digital garden. And then from her digital garden, she referenced other digital gardens. And so I thought this concept was very interesting. So I mean, it is essentially just a blog. Yeah, it's a plain old blog. But the difference about a digital garden is that for blogs, once you publish it, it's just out there in the public, right? Like you can edit it, but usually it's just out there. But then for a digital garden, you write these little blogs basically, but then the concept is that you can go back to it, you can tend to it, and then you can revise it if you have more ideas or if you change your perspective. And actually, technically, you shouldn't be calling them blogs. They should be like, I don't know, little notes of knowledge that you share that you can constantly iterate and go back to. So yeah, it's kind of like digital garden because you can regularly do it. So yeah.
Yeah, because like a normal garden, you don't just leave your seeds out there. You go back and you tend them, and you go, right, cool, this is it, and you can change things up a little bit. Yes, I like the phraseology. I thought it was really beautiful when I read about that. Yeah, it's really awesome.
Basically, yeah, it's all about growth, like iteration. It's not like you have to be perfect with this blog post and that's it. It's like you can go back to it. You can make mistakes.
Yeah, mistakes are awesome, right? Mistakes are part of life, and that's great. And talking about part of life, the other thing that I still remember this a few years ago when I emailed you when you had won the Red Bull competition. What is that like for you? Because that's when I remembered, oh wait, Magdalene. I remember Magdalene. I was like, wow, she's blowing up here. What was that like for you doing the Red Bull basement? Like, was it temp that you temp? Was it temp?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, what is that like for you?
Like how was the whole experience?
Whole experience, yeah.
That was actually crazy. That was crazy. Yeah, because that was my first year. 2019 was my first year, and then because I was so new to computer science and entrepreneurship, I thought, okay, Magdalene, you know what? You got to put yourself out there and join all these competitions and clubs, just to see, I don't know, just to get more exposure to this field that you're so foreign to. Because nobody else I knew was doing computer science or entrepreneurship or business. It was new to me, so I had to make new connections, new friends. So yeah, that's what I did. I had joined a couple of competitions before that as well. Like, I mean, during the same year, like Venture Up with Creative HQ, stuff with Audacious, but I don't think it's called Audacious anymore. I mean, Startup Dunedin, yeah. And then Red Bull was the final one that I did that year. And again, it was just something that I wanted to give a shot to, I didn't really expect anything to come out of it. Basically, you had to submit a video of your solution to a common student problem. So, and as you mentioned, it was called Temp. Temp was my solution. And the problem was basically students having a lot of unnecessary things lying around which they're not using, but other people could potentially find a need for it. So it's basically a peer-to-peer rental like platform thing. So yeah, that was my solution to the problem. And then I remember I was making this video at a friend's house. There was like some kind of party going on. And then I was just isolating myself on the sofa and telling people, okay, you know what, I need to get this video done and submit it because the deadline is tomorrow and I have to do it. So that's what I did. And who knew, like, who knew it would actually get through to the finals? But I also do have a lot of my friends and family and everybody to thank, because that competition needed voting.
Yes.
So you had to have a lot of votes to even be in the final round. So yeah, people shared my video around, and that's how I managed to get to the final round. And then eventually it got selected from the final round, which is crazy because that gave me the opportunity to fly to Toronto, Canada to represent New Zealand. And how was that experience? It was crazy. It was really crazy. And also because all of a sudden I was getting all this media exposure, like news articles, social media and stuff like that. And this was all very, very new to me. And I was like, wait, what? It's making me feel like a celebrity. That's so crazy. And then I've always considered myself to just be a regular person, you know, I'm just a regular Asian girl. But then now suddenly I'm in all these articles representing New Zealand and the Red Bull, blah, blah. And I'm also quite an introvert. So yeah, it was a new experience for me. And I did have to navigate through all those challenges. But I do like challenges. I do like putting myself out of my comfort zone. So it's a good experience.
That's so beautiful because two things there that came out was the fact that your peers and your family were there to back you, because we can always have a good idea, but if no one's backing you, then it just disappears like into the ether, right? And the fact that growth happens when you get into uncomfortable zones, and you put yourself out there, and you said you're an introvert, but you put yourself out there, ended up in Toronto. You're like, what the hell? This all started from me just putting myself out there, which is pretty crazy. And I guess if we fast forward again, so you started your stardom, I'm going to do that in inverted commas, as in Toronto, and then recently you were also part of the Asian New Zealand contingent. What is that like for you? How do you get involved in that there? Because we had Kai on a few months ago on the podcast as well. He spoke about his experience. How did you get involved in that? What is that like for you as you navigate that as well?
Yeah, that was also one of the things I applied for in 2019. 2019 was a very
yeah. It
was the year before the COVID year. But yeah, so and fun fact, you had to be above 20 to apply for that leadership network for the Asian New Zealand Foundation, but I was still 19 at that time. So you can do the math. I'm born in 2000. Yeah. So I asked, they had an outreach event in Dunedin, and I personally asked the organizer, like, hey, I want to apply for this thing, but I don't meet the age criteria. Can I still apply? And he was like, yeah, of course, like nobody really checks. So
wow.
and I was only like, I was literally turning 20 the next year, so it didn't really make a difference anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah. It was quite a rigorous process. So like they had a few interviews and stuff, and the people who are part of that network, it's just astounding, like the amount of things that they've been able to achieve, like how passionate they are. They're all really, really good people. So yeah, I did feel like an imposter being part of the network. And also because the network is for students and working professionals, but there are significantly more working professionals than there are students. And I was a student for most of my time. I was in the network. So yeah, it felt a little bit awkward. I felt very small with all these giants in the room. But nonetheless, change, uncomfortable situations, it's all part of growth. So I learned a lot.
Beautiful. And I guess it's again putting your hand out there and going, hey, the worst they could say to you was no, you can't apply, but you applied, and this is what's happened. And what is it like for you? Because you were overseas, was it late last year that you were on a delegation? Or I can't remember the time frame. It's just all melded into one big story.
Yeah. So Asian New Zealand has a lot of they call it huis, basically HUI.
Yes.
Like huis.
Yes.
Some of them are New Zealand based, some of them are offshore. I was very lucky to go on their Taiwan hui. So that was around late last year. That was my first time in Taiwan. That was amazing, incredible. And the thing about traveling to a country as part of this Asian New Zealand Hui is that you don't just do touristy things. Like I could get that experience if I could get that tourist experience if I just went there with like friends, family. But no, they organize a whole program for you. They allow you to meet all these organizations, all these cool people doing cool stuff, basically. And then you get to really learn about the country on a deeper level, on a much deeper level than you would if you just went there as like on a tourist trip. So yeah, it was amazing.
Very, very cool. Very cool. And what is it like for you in your working world? So you're a software engineer. You've worked for a couple of places, and what is that journey been like? And you were in South Korea as well. You've done some really cool things. If we talk about your adventures after you finished up at school, sorry, at university?
Yeah. Okay, so after I finished university, I mentioned earlier, I moved up to Auckland because I thought Auckland's a big city. There's going to be more opportunities for work, especially in the tech scene. So yeah, I was in Auckland for 2 years. And then after that, I got the Prime Minister's Scholarship for Asia. And basically it's like a scholarship that you can use to do like a exchange program overseas or an internship or whatever. So I chose to do an internship. And then I chose Seoul, South Korea, because I've always been into Korean culture and like K-pop.
Here we go. Yeah.
Korea booth. It was kind of a no-brainer for me to choose Seoul. And I spent 3 beautiful wintry months there.
Oh, what is it like? What is it like for you?
Just amazing, like no words. But
yeah.
I don't really know Korean. Like I did try to learn some Korean before I went there, but I do know Mandarin Chinese, so that helped a lot because there's a lot of similarities between the languages. I mean, people were just generally really amazing, really warm, really kind. I also did a lot of solo traveling there, so again, learning about myself, putting myself out of my comfort zone. Yeah, basically made a whole bunch of, I was gonna say connections, but I feel like connections sounds very, very businessy, but I made a lot of like friends, from different places, from my workplace, my accommodation, church, just people that I met while I was solo traveling. Just amazing.
Yeah, it's crazy when you solo travel, you get to meet some interesting people because you're by yourself.
Yeah.
You're by yourself. Yeah, and you just have to do that. Tana, you did that when you went to Australia recently.
Yeah, which was an awesome experience. I think, obviously the first couple of days you're a bit hesitant, I guess is the right word, to just, because you don't know what you're doing, you don't know where you're going really, like you just kind of float around. But I think you realize pretty quickly, like that you have 2 options, you know what I mean? Like you can either stay in the shell and you're not going to get the experience you want, and sure you might be comfortable, but you run the risk of not enjoying it as much as you can. And you realize pretty quickly that everyone's pretty open to having a conversation, you know what I mean? And I suppose Australia is a bit different because we are quite similar in a lot of ways. So it's not like you're breaking huge barriers culturally or anything like that compared to some other countries you can obviously travel to. But in the same sense, it was an awesome opportunity just to go, like realize that you can just have a conversation with everyone. Everyone's pretty inviting. Everyone's pretty friendly. I suppose, like anything similar to when you transition into different spaces, it's, you naturally gravitate towards people that, tend to have similarities to you. When I was going to watch the rugby league or I was going into the coaching environments, you're going to connect with people who are, somewhat like-minded. So it's not like you're going into a complete unknown, but at the same time, an awesome opportunity to just figure out who I was as a person and learn that solo travel, which is nice compared to, like, I had one mate over there and another coach, and it was cool to do a couple of things with them. But at the same time, it just gives you that freedom to actually go and do what you want to do. So pros and cons, but I think more pros than there are cons to solo travel for sure.
Totally. I like how you mentioned you have 2 options. You either stay in your shell and be comfortable, or you just get out there and make all these amazing experiences. And I think that's so true.
Yeah, and I think both of you have got out of that shell many times to get to where you are, which is really, really cool to see, because it's not, unfortunately, we had Grace on a podcast a few weeks ago, and she spoke about the tall poppy syndrome, and unfortunately in New Zealand, people stay in their shells not because they're not able to, but just because they're afraid what other people are going to say. The whole perception of, oh no, why are you doing that there? So it's awesome that both of you have done that, which is, it's pretty cool to see. And you're sitting in Malaysia right now, Magdalene. What's up with that there? What's happening in Malaysia? Is that where you choose to be for now, or is that just a phase in your life at the moment?
It's not really a long-term thing. It's mainly because I'm very lucky to be working at a job that is remote.
Yes.
So usually people in my company, like they choose to, I don't know, work remotely from a different place for a couple of months and then go back to New Zealand, stuff like that. So currently I am working from Malaysia, and that's because my family is here at the moment and I just want to spend some time with my family and also explore my home country. So, yeah.
And that's such we don't ever explore home countries. Whenever I go back home now, I'm like, oh, I don't go very often. One day I'm like, oh, I should be a tourist here, because when I was growing up, I just took everything for granted. You just take it all for granted.
Yeah.
It's a bit like New Zealanders. People take places in New Zealand for granted, and yeah, it's cool that you're able to do that there, and your company lets you do that there. You people, Tony, any questions?
I think we kind of touched on it briefly, just about that. Obviously, you advocate for women in tech, and I suppose the question is more so, do you find it? I think I asked someone previously a similar question from one of our previous podcasts, just around, obviously you are passionate in the area, and you want to see change, and you've said that you want to, really encourage that change. But do you ever feel there's a pressure or the burden side of things? Because obviously, like, it's awesome to go out and advocate for it and to be a positive role model for all these people. But is there that, I guess, that other side of things where you feel like it is a burden at times, or that you essentially have to carry the weight for the success of other people coming through?
You mean like is it a burden to be advocating for this woman in tech thing?
Yeah.
Forgive me the face, Magdalene. For people to say, hey, Magdalene is the face, sometimes it's awesome that we do that, but sometimes people just come to you. I think that's what Tana's saying, that it's awesome that you do that there, but there's sometimes an expectation that, oh, Magdalene, you can do this here.
Yeah. I don't really feel that way, because I mean, yes, I was the leader for Comp Girls Otago, but then it was very, very localized within Dunedin. And then with the whole advocating on YouTube, it's kind of like people watch my videos and then hopefully they'll feel inspired, just like how I watch other female creators and then they feel inspired. I think, but then if I were to actually be part of like a global organization, like, I don't know, a global women in tech organization, and I keep going to events, like doing outreach and stuff like that, and that would feel quite tiring. But it's not something that I do as of yet, because I'm not very localized to any area. And I feel like I can get a bigger outreach if I were to do things online, because you never know who you might be able to reach, right? So yeah, that's why I mainly choose the internet as my platform to do advocacy for women in tech.
Nice. I have a second part to that question. And I guess it's around, are you seeing the results that you're aiming to achieve within advocating and getting more women in tech? Because I think that's probably the second part. You know what I mean? You can do all the groundwork, you can keep advocating, but there has to be a point in which you see results, or at least, that's probably what you want to see as an outcome of all the amazing work you do.
I'm not like specifically measuring the results in any way, but I do see an increase in women studying STEM subjects in recent years. And obviously that's not just because of me starting my YouTube channel, but because I think collectively around the world there has been a lot of initiatives and efforts being thrown into this space of encouraging women to enter into the tech industry. So yeah, I think this whole global movement definitely plays a part. And yes, we can see the effects of it. I mean, like, just even in my own circle, I have a lot of female friends, the younger generation, who are now considering studying STEM, or who will be studying computer science in the future. So I think that's a very good sign.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I think, just because obviously I'm in a similar boat in terms of advocating for girls and women in sport, and like, there's a lot of talk about how we're getting momentum and there's a lot more eyes on it and stuff like that. But yeah, for me, I often question, some of those initiatives are great, but it's whether those actually lead down to, the grassroots level, like regional level, just club levels, having girls that are engaged and can see that bigger picture. It's not always, aligned with what we see, within the media. So yeah, just an awesome conversation, I think, to have within that space.
See, cool.
What I love about that there was, Magdalene, your line was the internet is your playground. So many times we think about being cut off with our boundaries. So, Dunedin or Wellington or New Zealand or whatever, but the internet has opened up all those boundaries. And I think COVID changed that dramatically. And, for example, this conversation has, it's a no-brainer. Before COVID, you'd be like, oh, how do we do this here? Do you have Skype? What is Skype? All those crazy things here, but now it's just changed. And to leverage that and go, actually, wait, the internet is a playground, but also the message that you are sharing is one that anyone, whether they're in Invercargill or whether they're in Istanbul or whether they're in Africa, whatever, they can pick up the message and take whatever they want from it and go with it. I think that's the beauty of the internet and what you do with your content, which is really beautiful because it's just real stories and empowering through stories. And storytelling is the best way. If you think about all the best speakers in the world, they're just amazing storytellers. That's what they do, and which is really beautiful.
Sorry, and I can see the effects of this through the comments and messages that I get as well. Like, I get all these comments from people like asking me about computer science questions, even some girls as well. Like some people email me, and I'm like, wow, my video is actually reaching all these different countries. So yeah, it was basically like a no-brainer for me to start creating content because I myself was also inspired by women in tech YouTubers. So it's kind of like, it's a full circle effect.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's paid forward, right? Which is really beautiful.
Yeah.
Really, really beautiful. Yeah, really beautiful. And that's why at my introduction, I was like, I said to you, I'm inspired because I think the work you do is really inspiring, really, really beautiful. Magdalene, we can keep talking forever and ever and ever, but we've been going on for the last 50 minutes or so. So we'll start wrapping up the podcast. And the way we wrap up our podcast is we invite our guests, aka you, to share a piece of knowledge. So our podcast is called Baskets of Knowledge, and we invite our guests to share a piece of knowledge to put into our basket, myself, Tane, and our listeners. And this can be anything from any aspect of your life that we may or may not have covered. And if you struggle, we can give you two.
Right. I did watch your episode a bit, and I feel like I should have thought of this beforehand. I didn't.
That's okay. Everyone gets put on the spot. Nobody comes prepared, which is the best way.
I mean, there's just a lot, but if I had to choose one, then I would say embrace change. And I know everybody says, embrace change, embrace adversity, but I just think it's so true. And recently I was watching this video about like when you feel lost or stuck in life. And the person said, the only reason why you'll be feeling lost is because you're experiencing change. Like if you go out and you navigate without a phone in an unfamiliar place, you feel lost. And that's because you're experiencing change, you're in a new place. So it's the same for when you're in life, So change is a beautiful thing because growth can come out of it, new experiences, new learnings, new opportunities. And as somebody who went through change myself as well, through changing my degree, putting myself in new situations, uncomfortable situations, I've learned and grown a lot through that. And I don't think I would be who I am today with this mindset and with all these experiences had I just stayed in my safe path of going down the healthcare route, something that I was familiar with. So yeah, change can really bring forth new opportunities and unlock a new you.
Unlocking. That's so beautiful, embracing change. And I think that's really beautiful. I spoke about change at the start, and changes yes, nays and yaysayers. And if you listen to the naysayers all the time, you're not going to grow anywhere. And like you said, change is experiencing something different. And even if it doesn't work out for you, you're still going to learn something. It's not like change is always going to be positive. Change can happen and things can work out negatively, but you're going to learn about.
And yeah, another thing I believe in is to live life with no regrets, because I believe that everything you go through has a lesson to be learned from it. And there's no need to cry over spilled milk or something that has already happened, which you can't change. Like, just look at it on the positive side, see what you can learn from it, and just move on, just move on to greater things.
Beautiful. Growth mindset right there. Beautiful. Fantastic. Those are some great learnings there. Tanya, any last words before we wrap up?
I think it's been awesome episode, like every other episode. Unique, learnings and also takeaways that I've taken from the episode. But yeah, it's been an inspiring story to hear, I guess, your journey throughout tertiary and now into the workplace. And yeah, it also given me a few ideas around, the podcast, but also personally a few ideas that I can definitely take away and utilize. So thank you, Magdalene.
Thank you. Thanks to both of you for this opportunity to be on this podcast. I know it's been a long time coming, but we got there in the end.
We got this for a long time, but hey, good things come to those that wait, and everything happens for a reason at the right time. So beautiful. Magdalene, thank you so much. Like, I'm going to echo what Tanya said. This has really been beautiful. There's so much learnings, but also for me, it's great to see the person I met all those years ago doing some really cool things, but not just for themselves, but the ripple effect that you are having in the world is really beautiful. Thank you so much for jumping on. Thank you for sharing your story. And we look forward to seeing what else happens in your digital garden, because it's pretty exciting in there.
Thank you.
For our listeners out there, thank you for jumping on. If you're a new listener, hopefully you enjoyed the podcast. If you're a regular, thank you for jumping on again. Please remember to like, share, and comment, because that's the only way we grow. Till next time, don't forget to keep smiling, and don't forget to put something in your basket of knowledge. Till then, bye everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Baskets of Knowledge.
Yeah, we hope that you found something useful to put into your basket of knowledge. And as we said before, remember to put something little into your baskets of knowledge every week. And as always, feel free to like, comment, and share this podcast. Thanks, everybody. Bye.